The smell of your skin lingers on me now. I need some shelter of my own protection, baby. Be with myself.
We got a race. Jerry, we got a race.
Welcome to MonsterCast, the podcast giving you the stories and insights of the monster truck world you won't find anywhere else. And now, giggity, 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 your host, Dustin and Mason Paul.
Well, that was it was a request we had from one of our viewers to put his favorite song on, and I was not going to turn that down. Again, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning into the MonsterCast podcast. It's been a minute, a good week since we've actually seen any of our viewers and any of our beautiful faces for like a good few days. During this time, I've actually came to Jesus, and by coming to Jesus, I really meant just talking to Dustin and like watching TV shows. I actually started trying to get and fit more, and I've actually lifted one weight, and now anytime I do lift like at least just one good pump, I actually grow hair now. So I'm actually growing facial hair. So the new me is gonna look like a mess. I don't know what it'll look like with facial hair, but I cannot wait. We actually have someone here who'd like to put his few cents in before we go to our guests. So go ahead and bring on a lovely fellow face here.
Holy crap. Did you spend a long time writing that little bit you just did?
Yeah.
Holy shit, son.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that just happened. Pretty sure you just lost 4 viewers right there in that bit.
No, we actually just gained 20.
Yeah, they're going to change their
There you
mind.
go. You got to grow a beard now, Mason.
I don't.
I can loan you some. I'll grow this out a little bit more. Okay?
I can use whatever you got.
Well, I see. I'm already out of the title sequence. And here's Dustin Hart, and Cameron's no longer involved. Wow, thanks for that already. Jeez,
I had to put something in.
How easily we are forgotten.
No. You are still essential to this podcast. You are busy though, but you did want to hop in here and just
I just wanted to come say hi. I want to stay relevant. I don't want to be forgotten already. And look, I got a special guest with me too. Look how special this is. I have Tyler Eugene Schweishwa, Too Extreme, Jet Parker singer. Right here live. Look at that.
I don't know who he's waving to, but he's doing a damn good job at it.
I don't know. That's not 10 pounds of sexy Rex in a 5-pound bag. I don't know what is. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys do your podcast. I just wanted to say hey to everybody. Not that anybody cared that I was gone, but I did. So I wanted to say hi anyway.
Well, we all love you.
And Dustin is doing a phenomenal job filling me in for me. And so most likely I will never get to come back.
Nonsense. I wouldn't have it any other way. You got to come back.
Or we'll just kick Mason out.
Okay.
We got options. So. All right, fellas, you guys have a great show. Tell Tyler meningitis I said hey.
There it is. All right.
Later.
Bayonara. Well, that was a little awkward, but nice to kind of see him here for 5 seconds, and now he's gone again, out of my life, and sad again. But kind of following off of that, he introduced them better than we were about to. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and bring on Tyler Menninga. he is.
Oh man.
Look at the stash going on there.
I didn't think we were going to be able to top the intro video until just now. Oh man. Daggone, man. I'm feeling that, brother.
Over the quarantine, I guess you could say.
Dude, I love that, man. I feel like maybe I got to let the flow down.
You know, the mullet just felt right. You know, it just felt right.
Sometimes you just got to let it ride, dude. It's a weird time, so why not get weird with it?
Right. I agree.
So what's happening, brother?
Just hanging out at the house, man. What have you guys been doing?
Well, worked on my truck a little bit today, and then the last couple of days, been ripping some laps on Crandon with the Pro 4s on iRacing with you and a few others. So aside from that, not too much going on here at the Hart Hacienda in Carolina.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, no, it's been about the same here, just chilling out in the old control panel here, but it's not really about us right now. It's actually more about you. So go ahead and get started off with you, Tyler. So for you, how did you exactly get started in this whole monster truck business?
So just growing up, I grew up around motorsports my whole life almost, and my dad always had off-road trucks growing up, and one of my first memories was when I was like 3 or 4 years old. We have an off-road park that's right here by the house, and he had an old International Scout, and I remember just going through the woods and going off-roading with him. And I'm not quite sure how they got in contact with the off-road club, but Monster Jam ended up contacting the off-road club probably about that time when I was about 3 or 4, and was asking them to come and do like club help at the shows. So they would do that every year, and I that's how I went to Monster Jam back in the day in Des Moines. Just watching every year go because my dad was club help. So eventually it was like I was like 11 years old, I think, and I ended up going in between the two shows, arena shows there, and going with him. And then I think what was it, 2012, I believe, I started doing club help as well. So this in between doing all my off-road stuff that I've been doing, and that it's just kind of one thing led to another, and kind of met the right people. I met Adam Anderson, ended up going out to North Carolina and working for him on his ride truck for a couple of years. So that was pretty awesome. So I got to give a lot of credit to Adam for that. He definitely catapulted my whole process of doing everything. So that helped out a lot.
Well, and I remember when you came down that summer, because I had heard about you, or I'd kind of seen your name pop up online in a few different places. And then, I'd heard that you had come all the way down from Iowa down to Carolina just to run the ride truck for the summer, totally dedicated. And then one of the Mud Park events, we had one of the night events there up at Dennis's. And I remember I'm standing on one of the towers there and just kind of just shooting, taking some video, whatever. And you popped up and didn't even know you at the time, had no clue. We started, just chit chatting. And then finally, it's like, oh, what's your name, man? Tyler. I'm like, wait, are you from Iowa? I'm like, and you're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know who you are. I just don't know you, but I know who you are. And little did we know that, not that long from there, you would find yourself, putting yourself in position to be in a driver's seat.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. I obviously wanted to do it, but if you'd asked me right then and there if I was going to drive or not, I wouldn't. Who knows at that point? I was having a good time running out of the ride truck for him at that time of the summer. So really, I didn't know what to expect was going to come out of it. Obviously, I was trying to, help my chances up and all that by going there and doing all that, and it did, luckily. But yeah, it's crazy how the world works like that.
So you are a part of kind of a unique lineage of drivers that have come through running ride trucks for Adam. Yourself, Morgan, Zimmer Jr. I'm trying to think who else that I'm missing. There's been so many of you guys going in and out of Adam's ride trucks. Is there like something to just getting comfortable with the truck, with running the ride truck so much all summer long, that you guys are just wizards when it comes to control? Because you guys all seem to do a pretty kick-ass job driving a truck.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, no matter what, driving a truck that big, with Adam's ride truck, I don't think you go over like 10 miles an hour. It was geared so low and everything, but yeah, just knowing how big the truck is, and, he's got it fenced off there, and you just stay on the path. And just kind of knowing like, okay, I'm in the grass now or I'm not, or how close can I get to the grass, or just stuff like that. And throttle control is, I mean, you're not handling any big horsepower by any means with that ride truck, but rolling up the hill over the van and then rolling back down, I guess it could teach you a little bit of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'd say it definitely helped, like doing that like 6 hours a day, almost every day for that summer. Just, it's got the same rear steer system that we have on the trucks. So by the time I first drove a full race truck, I was kind of used to what I would, it's pretty much the same setup cockpit wise as a race truck. So yeah, I mean, I'd say it helped a lot.
So, you spent the time doing the ride truck, you've been club help, stuff like that, kind of working your way, making contacts and everything like that. How exactly did you kind of make that transition? What led to you more or less getting the opportunity to go to MJU and, eventually finding yourself actually in the events?
Yeah. So after that summer there in North Carolina, that was the start of the More Monster Jam, which then turned to Triple Threat. But Morgan was still in Max D. Colton, that was his first year in Gravedigger, and they were coming through Des Moines. And my dad's known Bill Easterly for a while. I wouldn't say they're like real close buddies or anything, but he used to come to Des Moines and he met my dad. And he actually ended up one time coming down to the off-road park that we were, and I didn't know that Bill Easterly was what he is in the company or anything like that. But went up and just said, hey, or what, I'm almost 18. I'd like to drive, all that. And he's like, yeah, just send me an email. So I sent him an email, never got a response. So typical, almost, I guess. Some people don't ever get responded back to. And then ended up going out to hang out with everybody at East Rutherford that year. And they were like, oh, you just need to go talk to Keith Speller because he's here. So I ended up meeting Keith Speller. Alex Blackwell introduced me to him. And he's like, yeah, oh yeah, you're on the test list. But at that time, I didn't even know, I'm like still attempting to keep going with this. And it's like, he's like, oh yeah. I've been meaning to get in contact with you. I just haven't yet. So it was like probably a month and a half later that he ended up sending me an email. Hey, you're going to Paxton doing this. And so I went out there. It was me, Tony Oakes, and Miranda Kozad. And we did the test session, and it was like, even Tom tells you, he goes, they may call you back. They may call you back in a year. They may never call you back. So like, who knows? And I think it was like a week and a half later, Keith called me and he's like, hey, we want you to go back to Paxton. I was like, all right, sweet. Like, obviously I'm not going to turn it down. So.
Exactly. There you go. Well, before we get too far into asking too many questions to you, we have this one segment from one of our good friends, Christopher Allen, and he has a couple facts about you. So go ahead and play that now.
Hi, Monster Truck fans. Christopher Allen, the Monster Truck Guru, has returned once again for another episode of Monster Truck Fact of the Week. This recording is about one of Monster Jam's fastest rising stars, Tyler Menninga. Tyler has had a lifelong love of motorsports and accepted a fateful invite from Adam Anderson to drive a ride truck. The two stayed in touch, and by 2016, Tyler entered his first year of Monster Jam competition. That same year, he drove Blue Thunder in his debut appearance at the Double Down Showdown at the World Finals, where he qualified second and went all the way to the final round before barely getting knocked out by Dragon. Despite the loss, Tyler was determined to make a statement that he was a formidable competitor not to be overlooked. A 2017 Two-Wheel Skills Award and Arena Freestyle Award the very next year make it hard to dispute that claim, as does Tyler's fact. Speaking of which, in the 2017 and 18 World Finals racing competitions, Tyler went all the way to the championship finals both times. Although the championship slipped away on both occasions, this made a great case that it's a matter of when and not if Tyler eventually walks onto the stage as World Finals champion. And that's this episode of Monster Truck Fact of the Week, fans. Please like Monster Trucking with Jim and Chris on Facebook and Instagram for loads of great Monster Truck Show content, plus new coverage from Kansas City courtesy of Two Extreme Racing this upcoming weekend. Please like this page for new episodes and updates, and of course, Monster Trucks Forever.
Always appreciate getting some good videos from Christopher, giving us some more insight about our guests we're having on. And one interesting bit he had on was that you actually started in Blue Thunder. And now that you're kind of a big name in Gravedigger, for you, was it like a big kind of leap of faith, or like how big was it for you to jump from one big name to basically the biggest name from Launch Jam?
I mean, it was a lot. You know, I never pictured myself driving Gravedigger, honestly. Like, I was content. I, got hired to drive Blue Thunder, and I was loving it. It went through my rookie season, and I can't remember. I had heard some rumors like, hey, like you might not be driving Blue Thunder next year. You might be in something else. And actually, I think the first rumor, you know how it is, rumors all the time, new trucks, new people that are, getting hired to drive and all this. And that was about the same time that they were doing the Great Clips deal with Bryce Kenny and them. And somebody just probably screwing with me was like, yeah, you're going to drive Mohawk Warrior is what I heard. So Bryce actually ran my Blue Thunder chassis, I think, at one of his first shows or something like that. Yeah, because I did my last show for that year was Puerto Rico and Blue Thunder, and then that chassis got shipped to Minneapolis for Bryce to use. So I think that whoever said that just maybe seen my chassis number and then Mohawk Warrior. So they're just assuming that, yeah, he's going to stay in that chassis and go with the Mohawk Warrior name. But yeah, so I kind of had a tip off on they were going to let me drive Gravedigger, and they called me and they're like, hey, we want you to drive Gravedigger. And it was like, I was pumped for it, obviously. And, but yeah, it was definitely a big step up. I don't know. I say that, but like, I'm the type of person that's like, you could put me in any truck and I am just going to drive how I drive. I'm not going to change my driving per name of the identity of the truck or anything like that. So
right.
Obviously I wasn't near to what I can do now on a truck when I left Blue Thunder and started in Gravedigger, but learn as you go. Every time you're on the track, you learn something new, and that's just how I've been doing it ever since I started. So,
well, and so going back to your first year with Blue Thunder, you were on the Triple Threat West that year, and coming up the ranks, if you will, with a unique crop of drivers there. I mean, thinking back to Morgan, Colton, and Cody being on that tour, what was it like? Kind of learning the ropes on the track that year with those three guys, like. Some guys that are relatively close to you in age. I know you're quite a bit younger than those guys, but still at least, kind of learning and getting to cut your teeth, watching along with them each and every weekend.
Yeah, no, that was a huge advantage because like Morgan and Cody are so experienced, like, and they're so nice guys. Like they'll sit there and help you every bit of the way if you want them to. So yeah, I'd often ask them questions and what about this? And, how about this or that? Or, how'd you do that? Like, and they were just super helpful and just they're awesome drivers too. So, I mean, it was just awesome to have that every week and being an arena tour. There's multiple shows in a weekend. So that's the one good thing about being on a triple threat tour like that is you get into these shows and there's so many per weekend. Like sometimes we're running 6 shows a weekend. And then, so like if you do something in freestyle on Friday night and how that jump was, like they go back and groom the track every night and everything, but it's fairly the same. Like it's not going to change much overnight when they regroom it. So that's the cool thing about triple threat to me is like if you try something one day, the next day you can probably try and recreate it because the track's going to be about the same. Like we're stadium guys, they're going to go, and yes, their track is the same every week as well, but it's the angles are going to be different every week. I mean, they sit there and tell us, oh, these tracks are exact same as it was last week, and you can look at it and tell, be like, oh, that is definitely not the same. So that's the nice thing about triple threat is just having a track that's consistent for like 4 days in 6 shows. Sometimes it's three shows, but yeah, it's kind of handy to have that.
That's actually pretty interesting because so having the similar, well, not exactly like you're saying, the same track every night doing an arena show, but for yourself, let's say you come in like the first show and you finish up doing your freestyle and you kind of like inspect the track. How do you exactly like? Because everybody watching, I'm pretty sure has seen most of your crazy moves you've even done even this year on Triple Threat East, pulling like crazy backflips into moonwalks. Like, is it like after you do your first run or get a feel for the track, you're like, okay, if I hit it this way and do this is how I'm gonna like do some crazy like rabbit out of the hat move, or is it all just kind of improv?
So the backflip I messed with a little. I was more worried about like just landing them, to be quite honest. So, but I think there was one show I went up to hit the backflip and I usually would hit it in second gear up until then. Yeah. though I always hit it in second gear. So I hit it, and I went to hit it like I normally would. It rolled up, and then I just hit the gas right where I had been for the last 4 weeks, and it shot me straight up in the air, and it just did a huge sky wheelie. So I just locked the brakes up, and it just landed right on the rear of the truck, and I was like, man. So I was like, I had to think quick, so I just jumped off the pad and then went straight back over there to it, and I was like, okay, if second gear didn't do it, and I was, moving when I hit it, I wasn't going slow, so I need to drop this down to first and then preload with the brakes. So I did that. I rolled up to it in first, and then as soon as I got there, I carried enough momentum into it, and I slammed the brakes for a second, and then nailed it in first gear. So, and then it flipped. So the backflip, I was really just worried about landing it the whole year this year. I wasn't really trying to do anything crazy out of it, but it was like if you could land not perfect, that was the best. Like the first one I did, I think it was in Birmingham, and it landed in like a wheelie. So I like I knew where I was at. I knew the wall was kind of beside me, so I was like, well, I might as well ride this wheelie into the pad and see if I can. I really was trying to get it to just go from the wheelie that it was kind of in, and then just trip it up into like a stoppie on the pad. But it ended up like tumbling across the pad and just getting crazy. And then I like opportunities like that to put the truck in a really bad situation and then trying to get them out. Like I love saves. Saves are like my favorite thing ever. So I just love getting the truck in really bad spots.
Well, one of the more like kind of interesting things that I always notice whenever you're driving is just like the instantaneous reaction that you have when you're kind of making these transitions. I mean, is there any thought of it, or is it just pretty much just going straight off of instinct and you're, like I'm watching one of the saves where you had to throw it in reverse and doing reverse sidewalls and make it out of a save, or, landing on the nose in a backflip and throwing it right in the reverse and walking it out. Like, how much of it are you really even thinking about it, or is it just almost like instinct at this point?
I guess some of it you think about, but it's like the one where you're talking about with the reverse. Like I wouldn't have had time to even like sit there and think. Like I got out of the truck, and I usually try and like think to myself like what I did, or like try and remember like, okay, I watched the video, I listened to the motor, and I was like, okay, I must have put it here. But yeah, sometimes you get out, and I think there was an old monster truck video that maybe like a Crash Madness or something like that, and Jim Keller came on the video, and he was like, yeah, it's just blurred vision. Like you're there, it's clear, but then like if you like when you get done, you couldn't tell you how I saved it. That's ever since he said that, and now that I'm driving, I'm like, that is true, completely true. Like you just do something, and then who knows how it happened, honestly.
Yeah, now you got the the unique task of trying to reverse engineer it and figure out how you duplicate it, or how you carry that knowledge into the next event that you do.
Yeah, that's tough too. Which with crazier moves, it's harder to do that. But like doing wheelies and just race passes and stuff like that, it's easier for that kind of stuff. But the trickier stuff, it's hard because you're not always going to be put in that situation either. So it's definitely hard to recreate those kind of moves.
So one of the things that you brought up a little bit ago was kind of the consistency of doing arena tours, and that's where you've been for the last several years. But last summer, you got the opportunity to jump in and do some stadium events with us. How did you feel, kind of making that transition? I know some of the nights didn't go as great as you wanted, but, you did have some success on the stadium events that you did do last year. I know you jumped on for us in Denver, East Rutherford, and Foxborough, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot different. I mean, racing's racing, and I honestly love racing in a stadium. It's just so much faster and a little more technical than an arena. But the freestyle, I was going out and just going hard right away. And not saying that I should go out there and just tiptoe around, because like Gravedigger's not going out there to tiptoe around. So I just need to find that line and pace myself. And I think the last one I did, San Antonio, I found the line and I paced myself, and I filled the full clock. So that was nice. But yeah, the first couple freestyles, and I guess the truck broke. It wasn't my fault or anybody's fault. It just parts break and that stuff happens. But yeah, it was tough because I was going out and just going as hard as I could, because when you're in an arena, you got 75 seconds, sometimes 60 seconds to put on a freestyle worthy of all these fans in the crowd that paid to see you. So you got to go immediately. There's no taking 3 jumps to warm up and then clicking it in. You just like your first jump's got to be going. So that's my mindset was that exactly when I've been doing these stadium shows, and it's, I need to switch that and take it and calm it down just a little and go from there, because you got 2 minutes in a stadium, so you can have your tiptoes. And I think I did try that at All-Star Challenge, and I hated it. Even though I did a good freestyle, I hated that freestyle. I hated it. I loved it when I did it. I was pumped. I was like, man, I felt like that was a good run. And I get out, I watch the video of it. I'm like, man, like, are you gonna jump today or no? I'm not. I'm like getting no air, and I'm like, man, this guy sucks. It was terrible.
See, that's a funny thing, because like I think for the most part, I think a lot of us felt like you were as deserving of the win as anybody. I think really in my mind, when I was at the event, I felt like you and Colton both probably could have been considered, in contention for the win there. And I thought those were two badass freestyles from both of you guys. It's funny to hear kind of the difference in contrast between how I view something versus yourself.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a good run. It was all right. But like, I always have higher expectations for myself when I watch myself. But I don't know. I told myself, I was like, well, just go pace around. I knew I wanted to hit the triple. So I was like, I don't want to crash before I get there. So you can just see it. Like after my first backflip, and I didn't know how much time I had. My radio wasn't working with my crew guy. And then along with like the blurred vision, like, like I said, is like, I was just, the adrenaline high that I was on that night was while I was running that stadium, in Vegas, doing all in Grave Digger at the All-Star Challenge. And so I went past the red light and crashed because I didn't even know. When I did that first backflip, I literally thought that I had 2 minutes left or close to. But then I was like, man, I was like close to the end of the run. I hit the step up and then hit the triple, and then red light came on. So I was like, man. But yeah, I don't know. I just wish I could have done a little better before that first backflip. I like everything after the backflip, but like it was just kind of a dry run to me. I mean, anybody else could have went out there and done the same thing. Like the cool thing to me is like people, you get like Ryan, Adam, Tom, Cody. You could list off a handful of drivers. Is like there's not a lot of stuff that those guys are doing that everybody that drives a monster truck can do. So that's what I like about people's driving, is like I want to see you go out there and do something that it's going to be a challenge for everybody else to do. And that was like, that run to me was like, well, your first day driver, probably could have done that same run almost. Maybe not that, but no. But there really wasn't much, technical stuff in that run either. So I didn't like that as much either.
Well, I felt like it had pretty good flow. You had, your moments of, huge action and stuff like that. So different strokes for different folks. And I can understand, I think everybody is their own worst critic. So kind of bouncing back to All-Star, we had the two different racing courses. I know you really enjoy the standard, Vegas J Hook style course. You've shown how strong you are on that track, but the other track, the kind of the elongated, goofy, pear-shaped figure eight course, I guess you could almost say, that was a lot of fun from up on the roof to be able to watch, because I could see how hard you guys were carrying it into the turns and everything like that. How did you feel about that track?
It was fun. It was fun. We did a couple practice passes on it, and it was, the cool thing about something like that is nobody's ran on it before. So it's like everybody's figuring it out right then and there. It's kind of like the same, like the track at Orlando World Finals last year. Everybody had to figure it out together. Nobody had an advantage. So that was fun. I just ended up messing up. Those little rollers they had going into each corner, I was turning my rear steer before those to help it set the truck after the roller to where, I wouldn't have to turn. I could kind of use the roller to turn. And I clipped just a little spot on the bus there before that roller, and it upset the truck. So, but yeah, I like that track. That was a good time.
That's pretty cool. One thing I wanted to make sure to ask is you mentioned how you been talking with Tom, Adam, Ryan, and Cody during that All-Star Event Challenge. And those guys really are like kind of top echelon drivers, really. And I mean, you've kind of faced off against the best of the best and made it like, what, twice in the finals for World Finals before? Like for you, has there ever been like a driver when you line up like against them, you're like, okay, I'm already in the zone, I know what to do, and you're kind of like, you're just focused? Or is it just like you just have the same mentality each driver every time you kind of go?
I mean, I do. I have the same mentality every time. I just kind of like especially for arenas, like we do a little practice before each weekend of the show, so you just get a little feel for the dirt. Okay, it's slick or whatever here, but obviously, there's some drivers you can be like, okay, I just need to make a pass here. I can't be slow, but I don't have to get too out of control in my race pass here, trying to win. And then there's the other drivers where you're like, okay, I just need to be on it. I just have to hit my marks and make a clean pass, and then who knows, I'll win or lose. Who cares? But yeah, it's tough racing guys like that. I mean, Ryan and Adam and Tom. I mean, all those guys, Cody, Morgan, all of them. I mean, they're the best of the best.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, who are some of your favorite people to run with? I know I've got some ideas. I mean, I imagine plenty, at least a handful of the guys that you've been running with on Triple Threat are going to be on that list. I'm thinking probably Big Tony.
Oh yeah. Yeah, old Tony. Well, we had 2 years together. Me, Tony, Barry, and Colton. And man, we just the camaraderie we all had between all four of us. I mean, it never felt like, not one time were we ever at the track or out to dinner or anything like that, and it was like you took what happened at the show and like carried it. Like if I won or like Colton won, like, okay, cool, try again next time. Like there was no cutthroat like talk about it ever. It was just such a good group we had for 2 years, and it was, I can't tell you how many times I almost died laughing those 2 years as well. So Mason, I think you were there for one of them.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Especially when you have Uncle Tone with you. It's never know you're gonna get, really.
Well, y'all had Uncle Marty with you at one point too.
Oh, yeah,
Which you talk about double over laughter. Anytime you get Ray Stranigan involved, you are gonna end up crying laughing at some point.
Yeah. Just a goober of a human, Oh, what a guy though, man.
Gotta love him.
Yeah.
Well, I've been yakking quite a bit already, Mason. I imagine we've got a ton of questions coming in for old Tig here. So you got anything queued up yet?
Oh yeah, we actually have a few coming in right here. I'll go over these first few comments really. Jake Braun, he thinks that he thought this was Gene Patterson Jr. for a second. And Ryan Lee Roberts tuned in saying, Tyler's looking like a younger Andy Brass with the stash and the mullet.
Nice.
It's a good way to kind of start the things going on. And even Rachel, DJ K. Young tuned in saying, wow, look at that stash.
Yeah.
Most of those going on. But let's go ahead and start off with Jack Sigismondi. I think I said
Sigismondi.
Sigismondi. Sorry about that. How hard do you have to pull on the steering wheel to make the truck do a backflip? Go ahead and start off with that one there.
He was the head of our dirt crew on our tour this year, Jack was. And he rides motocross. So, when you do a backflip on a dirt bike, I have never. So I'm assuming this is, you'd pull back on the bars. So you got to pull back on the steering wheel pretty hard, Jack.
There you go. Let's see what else we got going on here. Levi Shones with a little different question going on. He's wondering, if you could hop in a short course truck, what class and which team would you want it to be in?
Oh, I would much prefer the Pro 4, but I like it's just not all out in a Pro 2. You got to just kind of feather it around the corners, or you're going to loop it. But I don't really have a team I guess I would go for. I just want to drive a Pro 4. They are awesome. So.
That's neat. Let's see what else we have going on here. We have Frank Patelli, a little bit of a long one here, but he's saying, I was at the show in Albany 2017 where you're racing Colton and you hit the turning car and both flipped over. Both of you not realizing one crossed the finish line yet before getting back in it with you winning. That was an awesome and most memorable moment for sure.
Oh man, that was my first year in Gravedigger, and I just struggled like the first 3 weeks, like probably just trying to drive Gravedigger like somebody should drive Gravedigger, but like trying way too hard, just breaking everything all the time. And we had this thing, we're lined up for this race here in Albany, and it was super tacky there. So we're dead even. We both nailed the first corner. We come around for the second corner, and I hit the car, and he just hikes up. So I ended up doing like a bicycle to stoppy save type deal. And Colton did it was like two trucks doing like the same thing on opposite ends of the track. And I set it down, and I I remember like, all right, he won because like I didn't see him do that. And I turn around and I look over into the tunnel, into the vom there, and all the crew guys are just like, go! Like, I didn't have, neither of us had radios either. So I think both of us had new helmets at that time. And yeah, so I couldn't talk to my crew chief. He couldn't talk to his. So literally I turn around and I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. His truck's facing the opposite way. Did he like come over the pad because I was over here in his way? And I see all these guys waving. I'm like, oh. I was like, oh.
Oh.
Okay. So I see what's going on here now. It's not even over. But yeah, that year was bad. We would always, whoever won the final round race, and I don't know, I'm hoping that somebody that's watching this was there, because I mean it was one of those moments where I was like, man, that was bad. But then like we can laugh on it now. And we were in Newark, New Jersey, and we had this thing. Whoever won the race with me and Colton would always just kind of like make an extra lap as the other guy's parking, but then like kind of just come up really fast behind him and then just stop, just like for the crowd, more or less. And we were in Newark, New Jersey, and it was a Saturday morning show. And I'm like second gear, just pinned. And I'm like about to hit the brake because I'm going to slow down and go up behind him. And he slams his brakes. I was like, I was like, what? And I hit Colton with, I'm in my truck, he's in his, and I probably hit him going like 20 with my all four tires locked up, and I just rammed him. I was like, oh my gosh, no freaking way. But I guess the tech official had told him to stop there, so he stopped. Well, come to find out, the tech official was just moving his arm, and Colton thought he said stop. But yeah, it was bad. He ripped all four front shocks off the truck, did the two down bars, and I felt freaking terrible. I was like, I mean, obviously it was an accident. Nobody was trying to play demolition derby with monster trucks, but yeah, no, but that was like my best two memories off that tour. It was the race that Frank just asked about, and then the Newark demolition derby that we had.
He's one a little bit different off of trucks with Levi again. He's wondering, what's the craziest speedster race you've ever been a part of?
There's been some good ones. I only remember the crashes, though. Like, I know me and Aaron Basil had like a lot of good races this year because we would race, but we had like a deal to where it was like, all right, well, if I get out in front, I'll just go like extra, extra wide, and then you come in. And then he would do the same thing the next corner. So then it would just be like a toss-up. But like, I'd say the one race with Colton, I think it was in Tampa. I don't remember where it was. It was in Orlando, actually, when we did the Amway Center there a couple years ago. And we had came around the last corner, and he was on the outside, so he had the momentum coming in towards the final jump. And as he's coming up, like we're side by side, and as he like takes off into the air, I like drive up his tire for some reason, and it just throws me. Like I'm like in my speedster, I'm like looking at the ground, I'm like, whoa, like I'm pretty high up. And I'm just like gonna land straight on my roof. I was like, dang, this is gonna suck, and it did. It was hard. The air cleaner came flying off the speedster, and I almost tumbled all the way into the wall. But yeah, they're fun. I mean, you can make the speedster races really fun. Honestly, it's in and out all day long, and it's a good time.
For me, when having you on, my first triple threat tour last year, I mean the speedster races I got to see were pretty crazy. But there's this one memory that like I don't know if I just put it in my head or if this actually happened because I can't find footage of it anywhere because I wanted to put it in like the highlight video. But I remember you and Colton doing like an ATV race. And I don't know if one of you guys won or lost, but someone hopped on like their back and did like a piggyback race on like the track when they finished. Yeah. I'm certain that did not I didn't make that up.
No, you did not make that up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so Colton would just always go, if he wasn't in the final two for the eliminations, he would go like just on top of the pad and watch, like if it was me or Tony or like Tony or Brand, whoever it was. And I ended up, it was me and Tony were racing, and I like hit I think I hit the turn pole or something. Like I'm like up on the bicycle for a second, and I just like ended up like hopping off because I was like, it's too far over. Like I don't want to ride this thing all the way down and have it on top of me. And then like Tony's gone, but like I'm like getting up and I'm trying to flip my ATV back over, and all of a sudden I just hear an ATV going through the gears, like bear, 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 and I look over and I'm like, he's like, get on. I'm like, all right. And the crowd lost it. That was probably one of the most loud moments I've ever heard from a crowd in my life. It was nuts.
Oh, yeah.
They ate it up so much. They loved every minute of it.
Good times. Well, we seem to be having a little bit of almost like a brawl here between Jack CG, so I'm going to call him off of that, and Pat Roy. Because Jack's saying he's your biggest fan, but then also Pat Roy, he tuned in saying, Tyler, are you enjoying the group on Facebook my mom created?
Yeah. So I think the first time that I had met them, the Pat and his mom, was in Worcester. I think that's how you say it, if I'm saying it wrong.
Worcester.
Worcester. Yeah, whatever. And they loved it. So they created this Facebook page, and it's just sharing everything that I post. So it's awesome to have fans like that, and appreciate the support from everybody. So that's awesome.
Well, there you go. A little bit of a more fan interaction, and I'll go ahead and let Jack and Pat and his mom go ahead and brawl that one out.
Yeah.
We'll keep the questions going, though. We have one from Joshua Lee, and he's asking, what has been your favorite Gravedigger chassis you've ever driven?
Hands down, number 23, the first one I started in. So the newer chassis are the shock towers are a little shorter, so the taller shock towers make the truck land a lot better. And that truck was just like, I always joke with people, like, I will take the most ragged out chassis that they have over a brand new one, because you get a brand new chassis and it's like you got to work the bugs out for like a couple weeks, or even you could get even more unlucky than that and go like a month or two and just have constant problems with it, like electrical issues or just random stuff like that. You get an old chassis, it's already beaten in, ready to go. So yeah, I don't know. 23 was definitely the best though. I've done that one. I had one of Adam's old ones, and that one was good. And actually, one time I drove Kristen's truck, and hers was, about the same as mine. I think I had to drive hers because they were building my new one now, and that truck landed so freaking good. I was like, man. So, but I tried to like recreate the shock settings on that truck when I got my new one, and it just didn't work. So, 23 for life though.
Well,
23 was an old workhorse, man. I mean, CVH was the one that rolled with that for quite a while. I remember when Adam drove it in Detroit, when Adam had pretty much just trashed 32, and everybody was like, "Oh, Adam's not going to do that great this weekend," and then Adam just goes balls out and kills it the whole show in Detroit. Badass save, freestyle, the whole nine. Like, yeah, 23 was a workhorse, man. CVH put that thing through its paces for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, here's actually a good one. I was thinking about asking it myself, but I guess William took the words right out of my mouth here, and he's wondering if you could drive for any independent team, what team and why?
There's a lot of good ones. It's hard to. I don't know. Jamie Gardner, and like he's got very, very good equipment. So does like John Gordon. They're even Jim Kohler. They got good equipment. Like, I don't know. Who do you pick? I don't know, man. It's obviously you want to have good equipment under you. That's the biggest thing. So, yeah, there's just so many options. I can't really pinpoint at the moment, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off that question a little bit and kind of maybe draw back to your childhood or whatever. We kind of always, I think all of us that are, involved in this at least one point in our lives wanted to be a monster truck driver. Did you have like a concept or an idea of what, if you had your druthers, of what truck you wanted to build when you were younger, before you found yourself with the opportunity of being able to drive?
I really didn't. I swear. I don't know. I remember my dad asking me that like one time. I was probably like 13 or something like that. And he's like, if you could ever like have your own monster truck, like what would it be called and what would it look like? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to think about it for a long time. I probably should think about it just to have the thought in my mind, but I haven't.
You just gotta have yourself you gotta come up with the idea, and then you'll have a sweet rigs truck for somebody to build for you one day.
That's true.
There you go. Well, we have a few interesting little qualms and bits in here. We have one from Elvis. He's saying, "Did you win practice?" Is that a story there?
Oh, there's a good story there. Yeah, Elvis. It was his first year. We were in Sacramento, and it was super, super tacky. And like him being his first year, like he's just learning how the truck's working, and like the 2 or 3 shows we did before that were super, super, super slick. So he probably just thought to drive the truck like he had the last 2 weeks. So he goes out for rehearsal or practice, whatever, we do that. We run 1 round of racing before each of the first show per weekend. So Elvis goes out, and like I'm sitting in the back, and I think I was race or 2 behind him. And I'm like, man, I remember I had to pee. And I was like, man, I'm like ready to get this over with for a second so I can go pee. And I was like, man, this is freaking taking forever. I was like, the trucks in front of me should have went out, and the other trucks should have came off by now, back in the tunnel. And then here comes Elvis on the loader. I got him on the hook. He had done roller in practice. So one of our bosses was there, Jamie, and he obviously was not too pumped because it was a brand new body that Elvis had. And he came down and asked Elvis if he won practice. Oh man, we laughed pretty good on that one.
Hey, you got to put it all on the line sometimes.
Right? Yeah.
I think the thing is, it's like a curse if you put a new body on before practice. Inevitably, something stupid's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or the inverse, if you take a body panel off to try and save it before the last show of a weekend, and then you end up doing body damage to the other ones. Like I told the Snyders that one time when they did Virginia Beach, they pulled the bedsides off of Toxic. So they'd been doing some sweet wheelies. They didn't want to tear up the bedsides. It was like, you done jinxed the hell out of yourself. You're like, what do you mean? It's like, you're going to end up tearing up something else now because you were trying to get ahead of it. And sure enough, Corey went out and he blew the motor, I think. I'm like, you done cursed yourself. You gave yourself bad mojo by trying to take something off to avoid it. It's weird how that works.
It is.
Let's see what else we got going on here. We have Jarek McNeil. Okay, let me see if I can get this right. He's saying, looking good, Marty.
Yeah.
Please call him Marty.
Marty. Oh, Marty. Yeah. Man, that Marty thing, that goes back to Ray again, because that is Marty. So Ray, for those of you listening, Ray's one of he's like the head videographer for Monster Jam. And he's just like the goofiest guy you ever met. He gets on tour. It was, I think, 18 was his first year. He's on our tour and got to know him really good. Well, his dad's name is Marty. And so he just has this like thing, and you got to keep it, when you're on the road, you got to keep it fun, and like joking around with people is the best. That's my favorite part of hanging out with everybody, is just joking around and having a good time with everybody. And Ray will just like, because Marty is kind of like, it's a pretty neutral name. Like it could be a guy or a girl, like so Ray will just like, if there's somebody, like say we're sitting at like a restaurant, he'll like slip in and like call him Marty, but he does it so smooth that they don't even know. It is just magic to listen to him just work like that. He does. He'll be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, Marty? And they'll be like, yeah, yep, mm-hmm. Oh man.
Well, and so like we were doing it was myself, Ray, Pellegrini, Frank Baca, and a couple of the other guys from creative services down at the office. We were down at Palmetto last year for Summit, and we had gone to a burrito joint for lunch, and standing in line with Ray and Pellet and grabbing food or whatever, and the line kind of wrapped around, and it was by a table that a couple was there, and they were getting their lunch, and they had their like maybe a year-old son, in the holder or whatever. And Ray looks down at the kid and goes, "Hey, what's up, Marty?" And then just kind of turns away, and the parents are just like, "What?" Like you could just see just the look of just absolute confusion and bewilderment.
Oh.
I turned away, and I'm trying so hard to like keep myself from laughing, but I'm like convulsing. I'm trying to hold the laugh in. I honestly I can't think of a time I've tried harder to not laugh.
It's pretty hysterical when he does it. It is just, it's too good. And then especially when the person looks like their name is probably Marty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it is even better because oh yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think I remember hearing like there was a get together after one of y'all's shows, I think either in the hotel lobby or something another. And some random that didn't know anybody from, the event or whatever came in and asked what was going on. And Ray told him it was a Marty party.
Yeah.
It was all people named Marty.
Yeah.
And they believed it.
Literally,
No way.
no, I'm being dead serious. It was a guy, and he we were in the lobby. I think it was like Super Bowl or something. I can't remember. And he's like, well, "What are you guys doing?" You just hear watching the game. He goes, and Ray goes, "Well, it's actually pretty cool." He goes, "This is a Marty party." He goes, "What do you mean?" Well, I'm Marty. He's Marty. He's Marty. At this point, like you said, I am trying my best to not blow this for him because he's working hard for it. He's and Barry's there. Barry's also Marty.
Of course.
So, man, this guy believed every second of it though. It was
man,
too good.
No, Ray Stranigan will find a way to turn something completely ridiculous and silly, no matter what. Those 2 weeks that I was down there for Summit last year, he went from calling me, a part of the Marty gang to I became Murdoch. Out of nowhere. So be like, I'd get a text message and be like, Murdoch, hey man, can you go find Kaylin Meeks for me? I need her for her interview for a bio video.
Yeah, if anything, it's if Murdoch's close enough to Marty, it's you got to mix it up. You can't just say Marty the whole time. It's got to be something different. So we came up with so many nicknames between those 2 years we had with Ray on our tour. I can't even, I'm having a brain fart right now. I can't even think of any of them. They're pretty funny though. The Marty legacy is definitely going strong still.
Oh, it will live on forever.
It will live on forever.
Can't wait for the rise in 2021 then.
Yeah.
See what else we got. We have one from Anthony Eigenhour. Just gave us a quote saying, "You know what I mean?" From all of us in the Discord.
Yeah. I do it all the time. I do it to my grandma, I'm pretty sure. Because I like to just, mess around with people. And I'll just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you either know what I mean or you don't.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Kind of coming on the last few bit of questions here. We have one from Michael Keller, and he's wondering, what was the reasoning behind you wearing Colton's Max D helmet in Fresno last year? Now, I was there for that, but I was fighting my own demons and everything going on that weekend. I honestly don't remember that happening at all.
Well, so Colton runs a R3 neck restraint, and I run a Hans device. And you do shows, and it's why does this randomly come up that he wanted to try the Hans? Well, the clips on the helmet are different though, so I was like, well, and then so for the R3, you cut a hole in the back of the seat. That way, it's not pressing up against your back. So I didn't have the hole in my seat. I was like, well, I'll just try this for intros. It'll be So I tried it, and I hated it. So I gave it to him immediately after intros. I was like, man, this sucks. He's like, the Hans is pretty good. I'm like, yeah, give me that sucker back.
Now I'm starting to like it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Let's see else. We have one from Tina Smith, and it looks like a fan comment here. She's saying Scotty still doesn't like Gravedigger, but he does like Tyler. Pepperoni rolls and pictures are always brought to Tyler, and hope to see you soon.
Yes. Yeah, they're the best. They go if you're in Ohio, I'm not exactly sure where they're from, but I remember we were in Wheeling, West Virginia one weekend, and then we were in Ohio, I think Dayton the next, and they were just on the tour. They just came every weekend, and yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome people.
Good stuff. And go ahead and end it off here with our fan questions with Frank Patelli again. And this is going back to All-Star, saying, did you get whiplash coming off the triple stack in All-Star? Because that looked like it hurt.
No, but I named that jump after I did it. It's called the Achilles tendon, is what I'm calling it. Because when I landed and it rebounded to the bumper on the rear, my Achilles tendon smacked the top of the gas pedal. And I was like, man, I didn't feel it until I got out. Like I knew it happened, but it didn't hurt because like obviously I was just going, the adrenaline you got kind of covers it up a little bit. But yeah, I was like, dang, that sucked.
Yeah.
But no whiplash. So
How big of a pucker moment though was it when you're peaking on the jump and then all of a sudden it's coming in real nose heavy there?
yeah, and it's like I was kind of guessing on what gear to run because when you're doing a jump full speed, you don't want to like if you have ran out of gear, it's going to nose over like that every time. You want to be able to accelerate off the bottom of the jump. And if you're just going as fast as you can, like I was, kind of like Cynthia too. So Cynthia was full speed, and I think that's why hers nosed over. If she would have just saved a little, I think, and then powered off the bottom cup of the jump, I think it would have jumped at least flat or nose high. But I remember sitting back there, and I was like 6th for freestyle, and Barry was 1st, and I heard it. Like I heard nothing for a second, and I was like, okay, he's lining up for triple. And I heard him shift, and he was running the same gears I did. So I just heard, I didn't see anything. I think Charlie Pauken was walking by. I was like, did he make it? He goes, nope. He's like, he'd made it, but he was right there. He technically didn't make it. He technically did. So I was like, great. Awesome. Yeah, he was full throttle. So I tried to shift. I think Barry's shift was, I could hear it. He held first gear for longer than you usually would when you're doing a whole shot. So then I was like, well, I'll just shift a second quicker than that then. So I shifted to second almost as fast as I could. But yeah, same gearing. So it was kind of sketchy though. It's quite the feeling though. That was awesome to sit there and it's like, man, I'm like going to hit this jump and not lift until I'm in the air. It's going to be.
Well, yeah, you never get to do that in an arena. And really, most stadiums, you don't have an obstacle where you can do that at. I mean, aside from maybe Glendale, when we do the extended floor in February, you really don't have that same level of run-up anywhere else.
Right.
Sure, for sure. I mean, even calling it Achilles tendon or just Achilles heel, whatever, it was, I mean, just watching you kind of just barely kind of make that, I was like, man, that was awesome. And then seeing Tom clear it the other way around, and then it actually did catch his his truck's Achilles. It split like the forelink in like half completely.
That was ridiculous because I was dead in line with that bus, and all of a sudden I'm looking at it and I see just forelink just beep, like perfectly in half, and then something with the brakes or something inside of the axle.
It's like
popped out of the housing. Like that whole bus was like slowly just kind of like in a little smoldering tinder pile at the very bottom. I'm just watching it smoke. I'm like, is this going to catch? Is there anything else in there? But it never did. But that was carnage.
Forelink split in half like that. I was almost willing to bet money that there was a bandsaw sitting in that bus running to where he just landed perfectly on the blade and it cut Ace. I was like, we were all up there. We're like, they're towing him back. We're like, are you like, we've never seen, I haven't, I mean, not that I've been driving that long, but I've never seen a 4-link bar break and let alone be that clean of a straight cut. I was like, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, it did look like it was like precision cut, but I think there was something in that prison bus that was just super stout.
Yeah.
Man.
It was ridiculous.
Good times though. Well, as we kind of go on to our last few minutes of our show here, one question we like to ask our guests is like, for you, what is your favorite like on the road or on tour type of story you like to tell? I mean, you've already had quite a few with the Marty party with Ray.
Yeah.
But is there any other good ones you like to kind of always come back and tell?
So you could talk about Tony Oaks for like 36 hours straight if you wanted to.
Amen.
Like that guy is the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. And for the fans out there that probably don't know Tony personally, Tony never tries to like be funny. He's just being himself the whole time. Like he's never like trying to impress you by being funny or anybody. But like, I don't know, like Tony, I swear, like literally never packs clothes with him on the road. Never. We'll get to somewhere and we'll be like, all right, Tony, let's go to let's go eat somewhere or something. And he'll be like, well, I got to go to Walmart real quick because I forgot to pack my T-shirts. And it's not like just one. I mean, it's like twice a month when you're on tour that Tony's got to go get T-shirts. So one time he goes and we're in Sacramento. He there's a Macy's. It's like the hotel's there and there's like a mall area kind of like there's some restaurants and like there's a Macy's and then there's an arena and it's all like in this big deal there. And Tony had went over to Macy's because forgot to pack T-shirts or whatever, and it was kind of cold in Sacramento that weekend, so he got a vest. And I'm sure that people have probably seen it on his social media because that is probably, like, I'd be willing to say he might love that vest more than he likes brandy. Like,
I think I know what you're talking about. I remember this now.
He gets it's an American flag vest, but it's got the American flag, like stars over here, stripes over here, zipper down the middle. And I mean, I don't think he took it off for like 2 weeks. Like and then he also got like this undershirt to go with it. It was like gray and black camo. So we were joking with him in the locker room, like, well, I mean, the American flag vest like fits perfect with Black Ops. Like, you might as well just go up there and wear it for your interview. And like, we're all laughing about it. And like, I like didn't really think anything of it. I look up on the big screen at Sacramento for pre-show interviews, and there's Tony Oaks in his vest doing an interview in front of a rather large crowd. And I'm like, he really did it. He really did it. I was
You need to get him like a bald eagle or something to put on his shoulder the next time he does it.
Yeah, oh man, what a human. I think that anybody that's ever been on tour, Tony, could probably vouch that's like, he's just an awesome dude and he's hilarious. But like, some of the stuff that you could ask Barry or Colton the same thing. It's like, I have shed way too many tears hanging out with Tony just from laughing. It's ridiculous.
Gotta love it. All right, before we go too far away, I gotta ask what you've been listening to, because I haven't gotten to talk metal with you in a little bit. So, what's been on your playlist of late?
Yeah, I'm gonna like blow your mind right here. I have been listening to country lately.
Hence the mullet.
No,
and the stash.
I have got into Co Wetzel pretty heavy lately. He's a country singer. He's not very big, but his music is just pretty good.
I mean, I'm a metal dork, but I can get down with some of the old school kind of styled country. You know, I can't do like Florida Georgia Line, but I can listen to a Stapleton. I don't mind Stapleton. I mean, I'm a metal dork through and through, but I don't mind that.
Yeah, I can't do like the main, like you said, Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan. Nah.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, we got anything else, Mason?
No, I think that was all on my plate I had lined up, and it looks like we've got about all these questions going off here. So, again, I'd like to thank you for finally coming on. I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for a while, but it's always been kind of wishy-washy with schedules and such. But before we go ahead and end it off here, is there anywhere, if our followers aren't already following you, where can they kind of find you on social media?
I got a Facebook fan page and an Instagram. Those are my only two, I guess. I don't do Twitter or anything like that. So thanks for having me, though. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to get on here too since I seen you guys were doing this stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Been fun times and lots of good stories all around, and can't wait to see you again at a show eventually coming up here.
Yeah, who knows? But hey, we'll see you when I see you.
Yes,
Sounds
sir.
good, dude.
All right.
Catch you.
That was good.
Yep. Good fun times, and remembering with Sacramento, I honestly completely forgot that Tony had that jacket on. I think there's a picture. I think he posted on his Instagram like one time. I think it's still up there. I'd have to check it out myself. But yeah, it was a good episode. Good catching up with Tyler. And well, is there anything else you'd like to let all of our fans on Spotify and Facebook know?
Nothing too much really. Just looking forward to kind of getting back out there, doing some events. Thankfully, even with all the COVID craziness, I'm still going to be able to catch a couple of events this year left on the calendar. So next weekend, Swedesboro, New Jersey, just outside of Philly, Monster Truck Throwdown, 2 events there. Really looking forward to getting up there, seeing some good friends, watching some monster truck action. Anytime I get to hang out with the Throwdown crew is always an awesome time. And then the following weekend, Monster Truck Throwdown in Dinwiddie, Virginia, 3 events there. So looking forward to being able to get back out, doing some events, scratching the itch a little bit, and kind of finding a little sense of normal.
That's for sure. And I think just looking at on my phone here, isn't Elliot debuting one of his new truck in Virginia in like a week or two?
I believe he's going to be, I don't know if he is debuting it or if somebody else will be driving it, but Dinwiddie, Virginia, I believe, is slated for the debut of Sinistar.
Ooh, can't wait to see that. And with that, I would like to let you know we're actually going to be doing an episode Wednesday with another good friend of ours. He has his own little segment on the show. We weren't able to get to it towards the end of it here, but we're going to be having none other than Too Tall.
Toodles.
Yep, I think it's going to be just another hour of a fan club, really. You have his friend of a
total
long
bromance.
time and his short-lived crew guy before, things...
He said short and too tall. That's
no, not like that. Not like that. Short-lived, as in I was only with being able to crew for him for a month.
Oh, okay.
He knows I love him. I would never do him like that. I was only there for a month, but being able to crew with him and just get to know him more was really awesome. So I can't wait to have him on. But with that, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Spur Hot Sauce and Monster Truckinator TV. And we will catch you guys Wednesday as we continue back on our tirade of MonsterCast podcast agenda. I don't know, but I'm going to go ahead and end it off here. And we're actually going to go ahead and talk to Chester after this episode.
Young man, hard man, shouting in the street, gonna take on the world someday. You got blood on your face, your big